going to call to order the special budget hearing, November 28th. Madam Clerk?
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Councilman Asbill,
Present.
Councilman Buddy,
Present.
Councilman Chatelain,
Present.
Councilman Johnston,
Present.
Councilman Wheeler,
Present.
Mayor Bodier.
Present.
Police Chief Walker is absent. Fire Chief St. Cyr absent. Finance Director Todd Turnion.
Present.
City Attorney Scott Stansberry.
Present.
Myself, Carrie Hughes, clerk, is present. Ordinances for approval.
Madam Clerk, in just a moment of personal privilege. We have an officer that went down, not in a line of duty, but he just was found sick at a red light. His name's Officer John Dunning. And I would just like everyone, if you're viewing this, to please keep him in your prayers. He's fighting through something. They can't quite figure out what's going on with him, but he's on. They have him intubated and he's on sedation at the moment while they're trying to figure it out. But he's in pretty rough shape, so if you keep him in your prayers, that'd be pretty good, you know, for all of Harahan to keep it. He keeps us safe. Let's try to pray for him. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Ordinances for approval. Proposed ordinance number 2022-27. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Chatelain and seconded by Councilman, I didn't write it down.
That was weird.
I think it was Wheeler. Sorry. An ordinance authorizing the city of Harahan to borrow capital funds to pay off all outstanding FEMA bills.
All right, anyone who wants to speak on this ordinance? Public hearing is now open. No one coming to speak. Public hearing is now closed. Councilman Chatelain?
Right, so we dug in, and I believe our vendors need to be paid. So we did go through capital, and there is some dedicated funds that we probably should not fool with. And I believe there's some funds in here that we need to go through to where some of these FEMA bills can be paid out of certain dedicated funds. And I think we need to break it down to see about how we're gonna pay some. Even if we don't have enough funds to pay the whole thing, I think we need to pay off half. I'll sit here and say I won't approve another thing paid for out of capital until these vendors are paid.
I'm sorry, sir, what was the
Yeah.
last statement? You won't-
I won't approve another thing paid out of capital until our vendors are paid. I believe you make a bill, you pay it.
oh,
Yes, I think some decisions have to be made, because for the two ordinances tonight, we need about $965,000, and we only have 603.
Agree.
And the 603 is not entirely accurate because it doesn't include a few things we passed recently. It doesn't include street monies, doesn't include the traffic cameras. So it's close.
Is that correct?
I think your number's a little off.
60, good evening, Council Mayor. So the 603 is accurate as of this date that we had prepared it this week, last week. But the items that I think we're aware of that the council approved, like the street repairs of 50,000, and I think some police equipment of 12,000 and change, that we should be able to use restricted funds, some of the Jefferson Parish restricted funds to pay for those costs. So I think if we're looking at just the unrestricted capital project money, it's the 603. That's what that number is. And frankly, it's gonna go up and down as we collect video poker money. That will change before December 31st.
And you want to talk about it now, maybe talk about our thought process of where we go from here and what the plan is to get the vendors paid?
Yeah, so I think what the mayor and I had chatted about earlier today, after we kind of did this schedule and you kind of look at where we stand, in my mind, the city has a few options. One is, as Councilman Asbill mentioned, we have before you tonight 900,000 and change to approve, and there's only 600,000 of unrestricted, undedicated dollars available. So certain of these amounts are self-restricted, like the insurance proceeds. those are self-restricted, no external third party restricts those. So you could borrow from those funds to pay for the FEMA expenses. That's an option if the council wanted to consider that. The other option is really just to go out to the market like we did last year and borrow additional money. And that would give us the cash to be able to pay all the vendors for the outstanding FEMA bills, as we really, frankly, don't know when FEMA will ultimately reimburse.
That was my next question. Are
We
we getting
don't
any
know.
feedback?
We don't know. We have gotten some FEMA reimbursements recently, but not the big dollars that would be necessary to kind of make the general fund whole and give us the cash to pay the rest of these vendors.
So I've got questions about specific invoices that are generated. Who would answer those?
Well, let's ask and we'll
Okay,
see.
so
Maybe a combination of Kerry
on-
and myself.
on August 26th, there was an invoice that was sent by Myers for $16,000. Is that for playground reconstruction? If so, that one's not urgent and need to be paid right away, so maybe we can scratch that one off the list, make them wait on that one.
We did, so so
And pay
just so you
another
know, for Myers, the ones we took off his list are anything that had to do with the playground, anything that had to do with the firehouse. The only ones we left on his list were FEMA-related, IDA-related invoices, and that total came out.
And those are pared down off of this?
I did, I took them down, I went through the list and say, what could we pay, or what should we pay that I think is detrimental to be paid now, pertaining to IDA, like you're saying, exactly what you're saying.
Okay, but I
So
guess
is
the
that
question
taken-
is,
is
are
that
they,
taken
are
out
they
from the
still on
six-
my sheet, or are you just
No,
pared
no.
them down on a separate sheet?
I took it, I was
Oh,
actually, I was
okay,
working
I
on my
got you.
office just now.
Okay.
So are there still invoices that would be owed?
There is about 100 just for FEMA, and when retrofit, we owe Myers about 159.
Okay, so we got to take out wind retrofit.
I
I'm
put
sorry,
you down
what was
to
that?
about 140.
Okay.
As a general comment along the lines of we're dollar for dollars, we're looking for money here. Some time ago, this council passed an ordinance and dedicated, I don't remember if it was 250,000 or 350,000, cash to pay expenses for accrued benefits for terminating employees. When we did that, we parked that money. We took it out of play. Something we could consider is undedicating that money, letting it go back to the general fund, and using that 250 or 300 to pay a third of what we're talking about tonight. That's
I'm gonna ask Todd, I'm not in favor of doing that, but I think we should be expecting a good portion on, poker machine revenue.
So the November deposit that's not reflected here is 42,000. It's been high the last few months, but again, it could go down in December, who knows? But that won't maybe solve the entire issue. But but the deposit last week was 42,000, and it's been on the high side. We'll be substantially over budget on video poker revenue for this year.
So Ted, do you remember how much the council restricted for a buyout, for employee buyout?
So the vacation payout, as if memory serves, that was more a journal entry, not a separate bank account. And frankly, the general fund does not have that cash in a bank account to kind of borrow from at this time.
so the money was never segregated into a separate account?
No.
Not a separate bank account, no, no.
So it's a line item in the general fund account. You mentioned earlier, I think we have about 300,000 available with the general fund?
In the general fund bank account, as of this morning, has 350,000 and change.
And that's actual cash?
That's actual cash
So that-
in the
that-
bank.
What's our run rate through the rest of the year? I'm sorry, Mr. Buddy. Is that cover the rest of the year as far as payroll?
No.
Okay.
No. We'll need the sales tax dollars, and part of this has been caused by, if you think about, we spent about 3.5 million in FEMA. Total expenses out of 21 and 22. We have 600,000 in round numbers still outstanding, right? That's before you tonight to vote on. So we paid cash out 2.9 million, okay? And our only offset to that is the 2 million that we financed. So the general fund basically is out 900,000 in round numbers. And that's why, as of today, the general fund is down to, you know, just watching where we're at so that we, you know, have the appropriate balance through the end of the year.
That doesn't take consideration all the property tax money that's
No,
starting to come in.
no, there'll be a ton of property tax money in the next 2 or 3 weeks, so I'm not worried, for that reason, I'm not worried,
Yeah.
Mayor, do we have,
I'm not worried about the general fund, but there's no money in the general fund to borrow from. No, there's no cash in the general fund to borrow from.
I'm all about reading it.
well, and I mean, it's the bills of the city. It's not a matter of borrowing. If we had the money available in the
Correct.
general fund, we could just pay the bills.
Correct,
That's what we did to the
Correct.
tune of 3 million plus.
correct,
So, but the money's not there. I mean,
Correct.
if we pay anything, any of these bills out the general fund, we may not have working capital we need on a
Correct.
week-to-week basis.
correct,
That's a pretty small cash balance for
Correct.
a city with normally a $6.5 million, $7 million operating budget.
Just to confirm what you had said, these invoices for Pipeworks and Meyer and Blue Flash, these are strictly just
Item.
city, but like, for instance, if there's an invoice for the fire department, for engineering, then honestly, that should be paid out of the fire department's budget. And if there's sewer, if there's something that Meyer to do for the sewer, then that should be paid out of the sewer fund. So maybe this something that's capital might not be fully all, do you see what I'm getting at?
Exactly. So that's what I did. I went through the Meyer invoices, just for, I only had a chance to grab Meyer before that, just to get a.
Yeah, that seems to be
And that's
all.
all I pulled out was the, anything that was hurricane related. That's what I pulled away.
I get
So
that.
anything fire department, until we decide where we go, I left fire department unpaid, I left playground unpaid, and we'll even leave wind retrofit unpaid.
is the, correct. Debris,
So, Mayor,
Yes, sir.
do we have an opportunity to make an additional loan?
I think we do. I mean, this is, and for, I mean, I'm learning, some days I have to
Yes.
still learn, even though I've been doing this for a while, right? And Todd, and I'm trying to, we have all of this encumbered money sitting in the, capital account, but it's all encumbered to a particular project or a particular whatever, right? And my own personal, and just so you know, Todd and I are on different pages with this one. The money's there. It's maybe not cash, maybe it's dedicated to something, it's a perfect example, 250,000 that we got from Colonial is just sitting there dedicated to individual things, so what, could we borrow from it and pay it back?
Well, theoretically, you may be able to, but I'm opposed to that. I mean, a dedicated fund is a reason.
Right.
And the reason that we created all the different cash accounts, and we had this discussion 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, was to segregate the money because the city had previously
Right.
been in a bind, I'm gonna say, because all the money was commingled and the
Yes.
dedicated funds really weren't there, they were
Right.
consumed. On top of all of this, the sewer department still owes the city $409,000 because of previous accounting transactions.
How much money do you think we have in restricted capital? I mean, unrestricted, you got 600.
so there's roughly 2.7 is the total, 600's unrestricted. We have over $2 million
And restricted money that's just sitting there
in
that we can't use.
restricted, in the
Because we restricted it.
capital fund.
Well, $1.3 million of it is the insurance proceeds.
Right, and that's
The
self-restricted.
question
That's
becomes
just
though,
self-restricted. You
That's
could use that
self.
money to,
well,
No.
That's up to you,
We-
yeah.
I told you my thought on that. Like I told you, if it's my insurance money that I pay for, if I choose not to fix my roof, that's on me. The taxpayers pay for our premiums. And for us to take their money and use that money for
Yeah.
something else, I'm not
I'm
for
not,
that.
I'm not asking to use it for something else, I'm just asking to borrow from it and pay it
I
back.
get it, so what happens when time goes on and we don't have the money and we're waiting for FEMA and then a job needs to be done?
what did you pay for the roof for at,
The senior.
senior center?
We took it right, I think we took it out of capital.
Should have been out of insurance money.
Yeah.
I'm saying
I don't
that's
remember.
money that you'd use to pay.
You paid out
The
insurance money?
Money is in capital, so I don't know how it came out of capital.
I was gonna say, it may not be
Didn't come to
paid
the
yet.
It
council.
didn't come in,
Oh,
It's
then-
on this,
Yeah,
it
it's
says
on
the
that, so-
FCA, it's not paid yet.
okay.
Oh, okay.
you paid yet.
Thank you,
But
Karen.
that needs to come out of insurance
I
money.
love it, thank you,
It's
Karen.
capital, but insurance money.
Are we submitting a FEMA claim for that? I mean, I don't know, I'm just,
We did, yeah.
yeah.
So maybe that could be a legit take out of the insurance money, because it was for the roof. Do you see what I'm getting at?
I mean,
And that
Could-
might
I
lessen-
believe your insurance money needs to go to repair your building.
I agree.
Like,
100%.
I'm not disagreeing that.
But how much was the invoice for?
30,
Okay.
35,000.
We're a little bit short right now, give or take, to satisfy
Adds
all
up.
the bills. Take that out of the insurance, pay it, that would subtract out of capital, that's a little bit less coming out of capital.
Well, it's not out of capital yet.
Well,
I mean, it's not reflected
Is
on
that
here.
35 in this list?
yeah.
It's in the
But the
636,000 total.
603, we could reduce about, so the six,
I got you.
we could subtract it from capital, remember we talked about this? Take that 30, I know it's out of the insurance side, and that lessens 30,000 that we're pulling out
And
of
we
capital.
pulling out of capital.
That's what I was trying to get at, is are any of these expenses, so none of these could be pulled from like insurance, they're not repairs, they're
I
just,
think some of them could be, like, all of these Myers project numbers, I think that's projects that they,
That's what I,
if we can if we can track down the project number and see what it's on, if it is to rebuild, I don't know, what other work have we done, what other building work have we
well,
done?
let's say fire.
If it's the design for the roof here,
If it's-
then you pull that out of insurance.
something at the playground, if it's something that's insurance claim for the concession stand, if it's something there, it
Right.
needs to be paid for, out of that
Out of the
insurance fund.
Which would lessen taking it off from capital.
You know, and I'll go as far as to say, engineering for fire station, that could come out of insurance, that's damage, insurance paid us for that building. These engineering fees need to be paid for, insurance money can pay for it.
Well, I mean, I definitely agree with part of that statement, but some of the engineering money may be for a new fire station. You didn't collect insurance proceeds
Right.
for a new fire station. You collected insurance proceeds for a line item of expenses. And if any of those line items are being paid, then certainly it can come out of the insurance
So,
proceeds.
and I think if you tear that fire station down and your engineering fees, you could use your money to pay for them engineering fees to put your new station, because it was money allocated for that station at that location. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but if not, you say, oh, we're getting a new building now, let's give the insurance money back, we're not repairing the building.
You're not giving the insurance money back, it's never
No,
going
we're
back.
not.
No,
No, it's never going back.
But we need to use that money to pay engineering fees, pay for new
Well-
stuff on that building.
Todd, you said there was about 800 that came in from insurance, that's fire, correct?
800, it's right here, 808.
Is that available cash as well?
It's cash.
It's cash?
It's there. We
So
got
that
it.
would bring our cash balance up to 1.4
Mm-hmm.
with the
Well, that's
600?
No, that's.
Well, that's
the
technically it's self-restricted.
If, yeah, okay,
Self-restricted, that means it's restricted by us.
right.
Right.
But we could take
But
some of that money.
it's dedicated. It's dedicated money. I mean, the reason you dedicate money is so it's there.
Sure.
We've got two insurance proceeds. You're
Well,
showing
there's
$1.2 million
three.
here.
So 800,000 was fire. We've gotten 2 checks for the general city at 430,000.
Okay.
And that's all the city properties,
Right.
all of them. A long list, 50-page report, all the damage to the city properties.
Do we have a list indicating what the planned future expenditures might be?
No, no, sir. Not that I'm aware of, no.
Right, the question is, can these bills?
110 is general government, right?
Yes.
Yes.
But of the one,
Non-departmental, okay. So we need to figure out which of these bills can fall under the insurance proceeds category.
Not many. I mean, just looking at it, we went through the list earlier today. Debris monitoring, Ida damage assessments, some small invoices to Blue Flash, debris monitoring, the playground invoice, damage assessments,
The damage assessments.
Debris
Is there any
removal,
specific
debris-
Departments the damage was assessed to?
I think that
See,
was,
that's what I guess we're trying to figure out, if it was something, then maybe we could pull it from insurance. And not take
yeah,
it in.
I don't have that.
Right,
We-
you saying
we would
if
have
Rick
to go
Mines
pull the
on a damage
invoice.
assessment to a building that the city collected insurance from,
I'll go get it.
Paid
Is
for
it
that.
on your desk?
I would think so.
Yeah, let me go see.
Let me ask this question let's just go down the list on Blue Flash. All of those are gonna be non-building related. pumping, is that right? I'm just, because the invoice date, we just might have been invoiced late.
Yeah, all
One-
blue flash is probably not.
Mayor, what role did Blue Flash play in Ida
Pumping
insurance
sewage.
claims?
Well, they brought in generators for us, and then they kept all the lift stations up.
So
and
that's not
running.
insurance money, that's a FEMA claim,
Right.
Okay.
yeah. I mean, they didn't, I wouldn't think they had any role in insurance monies.
Yeah.
FEMA money, yes.
We can make it. We can make it. The only thing we would have for insurance money through Blue Flash would be any generator purchase or any generator repair, fuel.
But that would
Those
be
aren't
FEMA
even
money,
in this list.
it's not insurance.
So
Let me, how
Yeah, it's
about,
not insurance.
we'll deal with that later.
what about the sewer fund? Does the sewer fund have cash available?
No,
Sewer fund's negative.
no.
That's what I thought.
They owe the city $404,000.
That's what I thought that was.
So that's money we show in our capital fund, it's really a receivable from the sewer fund. There's no money there. Of the $1 million we say we have unrestricted in the capital fund, 400,000 is an IOU from the sewer fund.
Right.
And for everybody's reference, the sewer fund owed the city about $1 million 4 years ago. So we've worked that balance down to where now the sewer fund only owes the city 400,000. Huge improvement, but still the sewer fund is in an illiquid position.
Got it.
Yes.
You have the gym, it was City Hall, Police Department, Fire Station, Randolph Avenue, which is the volunteer fire station, the senior center, the sewer treatment plant, and the maintenance building.
That's for Blue Flash?
This
No.
is the Myers damage assessment reports.
So what,
That is the one that
Where does that
is
correspond on this?
Yes.
$40,070
Gotcha.
and 88 cents for
Myers.
Myers.
No, was that 40,000?
That's
that
for
was
all those
that you just listed?
Yes.
And there's an amount, there's the hours and dollar amount to each location, but it's 8 to 10 different locations.
Would you like me to you want me to make a copy of this for
Well,
y'all?
I guess my question is, of the 40,000, how are you gonna divide them among all the departments to see exactly what was what?
I guess,
Well, it breaks it
but
down.
that's, look, that's an accounting problem, but, so the 40,000 is all buildings,
Yes.
insurance proceeds?
Insurance.
This is all damage assessment reports done.
I don't have
for
a
these
problem
buildings.
paying that 40,000 out of the insurance proceeds, but I just want to let you know that you didn't get reimbursed for that. Insurance companies reimburse for the value of the damage, not what you might assess or spend to assess the value.
Right.
But I think I could get comfortable with voting to use 40,000 of that. I'm not sure a vote's even necessary for that, to pay Meyer.
Right.
So that's
Yeah,
40,000 out
I
of that.
think at this point, what we should be doing is taking that,
Before
whatever
you
that
have
big
a-
number is, that 636 number, and start subtracting 40, subtracting this, and that's what you go pay with the capital fund. And you find a creative way to pay the rest of it.
I could do that.
So I'm willing to amend that ordinance down to 200,000 and just get these guys paid something until accountant can figure out what we owe after that point.
Or you can just leave it like it is and give us the opportunity to get it down and pay it as quick as we can out tomorrow, and then we can report back to you guys exactly what we decided to pull out. of it.
Start over again, please, sir.
That was way too fast.
So I say,
What about 2/3?
what about or just leave it as it is, and,
That ain't gonna work.
Well, you can't leave it as
That
it
ain't
is.
gonna work.
You don't have, you don't,
the ordinance is there, just giving me approval to spend it, they don't mean I gotta spend it, or how.
Yeah,
I
but if
spend
we,
it.
but
The
if we
ordinance-
approve you to spend $900,000 tonight, and we don't have the cash for it,
That's
So I'm
not
gonna try to,
come on.
well, you know,
I'm working
we're
here, man.
we're looking at two issues, and both of them are time sensitive. One of them is providing a source of funding so you can conclude the negotiations with Veolia. And the other one is,
We had reached that one.
That's right.
well,
Okay, so what about dividing it in half, what about maybe amending this ordinance, and what did you, what were
I'm
you-
saying let's amend this ordinance right
So
here.
how much you were doing? 600 what?
It's at 636 now.
Alright, so what if we can just divide it in half and put add a new line in it and say, we take, 318 from,
Say even 300.
I'll take 300 from, from the capital, and then look at, what's the other one, what's the number, 6 what?
636,
All right, so then you got 336.
627, 67.
Todd, are the police
Pull from
vehicles that
insurance.
we approved, the
And
$100,000?
add a line item saying that we.
Well,
Out of this
I'm not
money?
saying pull that from
No.
insurance. I don't think you need our
So,
approval.
so
to pull
guys,
something from
we've
insurance.
we've also approved $100,000 for police vehicles by ordinance.
You haven't seen
It's committed. I don't know if it's been spent,
No,
but
it has
right
not
now,
been spent or
but
requested.
right now, there's an ordinance out there that says there's 100,000 committed, so the 600,000 now at 500,000 of available capital funds. I'm just saying,
Is that right?
we're cutting
Tech,
this
and you
awfully
did
close. And
approve
Mayor,
100,000 in, I think at the June meeting for police vehicles.
yes,
To date, that hasn't been spent.
and it's not in the schedule.
And it's not reflected
And if
anywhere in
we-
these reports.
If we spend 500 or 600,000, or loan 500 or 600,000, for expenditures out of the capital fund, you're gonna be left with something near zero, plus or minus 20, 30, 40 grand there. That's what you have to run the city on if we have a hiccup and you need to spend some money. You got 300,000 in the capital, the general fund, and you got this money here that we're playing with.
So,
I think Councilman Asbill's on to something. If we can figure out how much we can pay out of insurance, not just Councilman Asbill, but figure out what we can pay out of insurance. And that can be done without vote of the council, I think.
I do have a question about that. Those insurance proceeds are in the capital fund, so he may need council approval to
They
break it
got
out.
put in there without council approval. The bookkeeping entry.
Council voted an ordinance earlier this
Council voted
year
an ordinance
to
that-
require all insurance
Okay,
proceeds.
yeah, it was
So
not
we need
specific.
approved expenditures.
We could
of that.
approve the expenditures on it.
Correct.
That's what I'm saying. So you can amend this ordinance, changing it from 300
From 600
to
to
300,
36
and
to
then add a line
300.
item, giving approval for 300 out of.
I would
insurance.
propose that we move on to the next ordinance. Take a recess after that, come back to this ordinance after we've done some math and figure out where we can align things. Or we can take the recess now, whatever y'all
Yeah, I
wanna
have
do.
them right here.
Your call.
And this
No, I
one.
mean, let's do what you said. Let's roll the next ordinance. So we know we got a baseline. Let's just take the next ordinance. Let's run with it. We know we got a baseline there, and then
Right.
we'll start on.
Oh,
Because we already know that's gonna be encumbered,
Right,
once you approve it.
the roof could come out.
yeah. If it gets approved, because we got questions on that one too.
Once you approve it.
Well, there's certainly not enough to do them all.
And I have
Yes,
another
I'm not
question.
asking.
We're
not
proposing to make a loan from the sewer for paying of Veolia. Borrowing money from the capital fund. Where's the money gonna come from to repay the capital fund?
You're gonna save 60 grand a month.
Well,
It's 47.
Not 60, but we're gonna
47.
save tens of thousands of dollars
yeah,
Probably 30 plus a
a
month.
month, correct. Yeah.
So you think you'd have this paid off by the end of next fiscal year?
Yes.
I-
That's what I asked Tom.
still,
Give me 1
still
year.
with a deficit balance of cash in the sewer
So
fund.
I mean, the only reason why I think yes is because we've done a lot of infrastructure work in the past 4 years. And I'm not saying our infrastructure, our collection system is pristine, but it's really in good shape. It's time to get the plant back in order. I think just alone with the savings that we'll have from the plant will put us in good shape. But we also have 1.7 million in capital outlay request already, with an additional right over 4 million we dropped in late capital outlay request, and it's a long story, but, so I think, I asked Tom, give me 1 year on it, and I think that we'll see a positive balance in the sewer fund. I think we're there. I do. I think it's just gonna take a little, faith.
Mayor, I believe that the changes you're making in the administration, management of the sewer fund are gonna generate savings to the city. And they may be, let's just say they're 300,000 or 400,000 a year. So we won't be, the sewer fund won't be break-even cash for a year. You
Right.
do this, you're adding another year on it, it's a couple of years. That's not a determination, that's just
Right?
a fact.
Got it?
It's not a, and again, we talked about the use of the ARPA monies. And as I understand it, our finance director, Todd, is not confident, or he's not confident enough, comfortable enough to use ARPA monies to pay the 328 to Veolia. I mean, the ARPA monies need to be used for something.
Correct.
And this would seem to be a really good use of ARPA monies.
I mean, debt for Veolia, if I'm not mistaken. It's 10 years old.
Not all of it.
100, roughly 100,000 is at least 5, 6, 7 years old. Predates certainly Mayor Bodier's
Yeah, I would-
administration.
Predates
I would
Mayor
feel
Maselli.
comfortable, I don't know that I'd be comfortable using ARPA funds for past invoices or settlement proceeds.
What about a transfer from the ARPA fund to the sewer fund to replenish sewer fund monies?
I don't think so. I think ARPA is intended for current infrastructure projects. That's what I think it's intended for. I don't think it's limited to sewer. It certainly can include sewer, but I think it's for current infrastructure projects.
Yeah, I can't see.
I mean,
using ARPA
maybe,
to pay
maybe
debt.
if somebody can show me something in the legislation, I can get comfortable with it. And I wouldn't mind doing that if it was allowed, but I don't,
Well, yeah, we don't know do it if there's any doubt.
yeah, I think it's for current infrastructure projects and past, COVID expenses.
And I played phone tag last week and today with the city's external auditors, just to see if they can provide any clarity on the use of the ARPA funds. So I've reached out to them just to see what they're seeing in any of the other clients that they're working with.
I mean, I'm sure ARPA's big enough to where we can redefine it to what we need it to be.
You just think everything could go your way, huh? You dream big, boy.
You got a city with a $6 million budget that's on fire and that needs, you know,
And the ARPA funds, it's more than $1.7 million, isn't it?
3.4 million.
Right. A lot of money.
Yep.
and I gotta, I mean, you take, so now if you take, like what you're saying, Mr. Tom, and why I'm in total agreement of you, because now you take Veolia out of the equation, now you got enough capital to pay all your FEMA vendors.
Well, you're bringing your fund down to zero, which I would never do.
Yeah, and I don't say I wanna bring it to zero. If we break this in half and just get the vendors paid something,
That gives-
hopefully in the next month, we
Yeah.
get some FEMA money.
And
Okay. That's what I say.
so, what about the Veolia money? Some of this money may be for capital improvements. What, in the Veolia invoicing, they bill us a management fee, and they bill us for some reimbursement of expenses. So those may be able to come out of the ARPA funds without,
I'm uncertain of the answer, Mr. Buddy. I know the bulk of the invoice is the monthly management fee, maybe 30, 32, 34,000 out of the $40,000 invoice each month is the monthly management fee. What's your total over there? That's the,
I mean, I agree with you, Mr. Tom. I think the argument can be made easily.
we just don't.
Besides the total amount of money on the Veolia payout, I'd be interested to see actual analysis and figure, I mean, I know anecdotally, we're saying we're gonna save $30,000 a month and so. I'd like to see actual analysis of that as far as our new employee, what the new fees are gonna be, because we've got to install new technology over there now, and things like that. So I'd like to see the actual financial analysis of that. And I don't know, was this through, this number they gave you, is that through November 30th? Is that why we're trying to get it approved?
That is correct. That is paid to date. Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to be there.
I don't.
This is,
If-
y'all already talked,
If we do,
Veolia approved it.
if we don't approve Veolia, we just add on another month of management fees for it to the tune of how
I
much?
think if we don't approve Veolia at this point, they're gonna exercise their right to go to March of next year.
So, Mayor, let's talk about the timing on that. You led us to believe, and I'm sure it was accurate, that this is rather urgent, Veolia settlement. So in terms of this discussion tonight, we may want to vote on Veolia first, and then come back and look at possibly amending the loan for the payment of FEMA, FEMA expenses. I mean,
I mean, Scott and I have been both in negotiations with Veolia, and they were very hard pressed to keep it to March, and this was a lot of negotiation going back and forth, so I would figure at this point, honestly, if we can't get them paid, they're gonna say, we're gonna go ahead and exercise our contractual right to keep it through March.
I
And
think-
then we can engage in a lawsuit with them for breach, but
We
by
don't
the
wanna
time
do
that's
that.
all over, so that's.
You saying you rather pay Veolia?
I'm
and
saying I
hold up
think
on this?
Veolia is a higher priority.
I agree.
Not what I'd rather do. I'm just saying I think Veolia is a higher priority.
So at this point, if we didn't pay Veolia and they exercise their right to stay till March, it'll cost us another $188,000.
Of payments to them.
Correct.
Offset by what it's gonna cost the city to pick up the management.
Correct.
So let's just say conservative 90%, 50% of
Take
that
40
will
off,
cost
yeah,
90
we'll take
grand.
40 off, $10,000 a month. That's
Plus-
what we think it's gonna come in
yeah.
about, 10,000 a
Yeah.
month when it comes under city control. So you minus 40, 148, say 140. You're still gonna cost the city an additional probably $40,000, $140,000, I'm sorry.
So if we do Veolia tonight, the council approves that as a loan, which is a little unusual. And we do 300,000 on, the FEMA, outstanding FEMA bills. Some of that 300,000 we're gonna be able to pay out of insurance proceeds. I don't know how much.
That's what we,
Probably,
I've got about 93,000. It's the 3 invoices on the property assessments from Myers
So-
and the 1 invoice on the senior center.
so if we have 93,000 that can come out of
93,287.
insurance, and we wanna get to 300 grand, we could do, 207 from a loan for FEMA expenses to get us to 300.
Plus the playground.
So now we're talking 207 plus the 328? 535,000
this is a lot closer.
to what available today in the general capital fund is 603. That leaves you $60,000 or $70,000 for capital expenditures.
So you're $300 short on your police costs.
How much short on the police costs?
You said you had 230? I mean, you had 70, so you're 30 short of your police costs. You got 100,000
Yeah,
allocated
I'm
for
sure.
police costs.
So I don't foresee a request for police costs coming in.
Until January 1st.
Yeah, until
right?
sometime in January, I'm sure. And it'll take the new police chief a good month to get in and assess
Those
that.
playgrounds and on the budget,
Uh,
112 or 113.
no, 113 is.
No, 118 or 117 is recreation. 116.
We've done 60,000.
From insurance?
Yeah, so we went through these invoices, like, this 36,000, this is strictly for the roof of the senior center. That could clearly come out of insurance money.
Todd's coming up with 93.
Actually, I had 100 and I
Well, no,
missed
no, this is what
one
we
in-
took other departments
let's
out.
see.
So we
Yeah.
took senior center, we have fire, and we have HPD. And what I did was I went through and figured out which ones are each departments and subtracted that. So the outstanding balance is probably our general governmental. If you're at 90, we found 36 for the senior center, about 7,300 for the police department, and about 17,000 for the fire department.
Not arguing that there's 36 in there for the senior center. I don't know that there's 36 in here. The number is-
Yes, that would just come out of the general.
That would come out of the insurance.
Right.
The non, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but it hasn't, it would come out of there. But it's not in the analysis of what's available.
Yeah, it's
Where is it?
the 430 for insurance proceeds.
No.
The second line after the highlight.
It's gonna be paid out of there, but how does that relieve the monies we're looking for today? The 606 available
Because it's,
doesn't include that 35 as a committed expense. It's not in here as a commitment. So we're gonna pay it out
So
of here.
we're
This is-
asking a question.
This
I'm
is not
asking
gonna
this
change the
question now.
606 available.
No, no, I think-
636, is that including the roof at the senior center?
Yes,
So it is included in
It is
this
included.
ordinance.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's included in
Yes,
this.
So what
okay,
I was
thank
thinking Was backing out what we can pay out of insurance.
Yeah,
so
right,
less of
okay.
the money, because now our 6 is now really
Yeah,
5.
Five and change.
So I mean,
Right.
hey, it's 60,000, but that's, we could pay that out of insurance proceeds instead of taking it from capital, which would
Yes.
reduce that balance.
Right. So the 636 goes down by that.
Well,
Well,
really,
the,
we're really at 5. Oh, you're talking about the ordinance, yes, it would go down. Well,
But it doesn't,
is it really just an entry? Or do we have to break down?
we would need your,
I think you gotta break down the line items. We're gonna pay this much for fire insurance proceeds, we're gonna pay this much for police insurance, we're gonna pay this much for
Yeah.
mental capital.
yeah,
I think that's the way we should be looking at this,
yeah.
because it's all in the capital fund, it all needs capital improvement.
But it would just lessen the capital balance, the 5 that we're saying.
You know, fire.
Because we could take that money, I mean, I know it's only 60, but hey, it's, I don't know, there's other expenses, I'm sure about the ones with
Right.
the departments. Because everything else. we
so let me direct this question to Councilman Chatelain. Eric, do you think of the money you were talking about reducing this ordinance down to 200,000 or 300,000 of a loan? You weren't thinking that money was gonna go to pay the roof, or were you? You were gonna, who would you have paid with it?
Oh, I think you need to split it up across the board,
Okay,
percentage-wise. Like, I don't think anyone's more priority than the other.
okay.
I-
So if we can get 93,000 out
From
of
insurance.
insurance, and then we take 200,000 out of, as a loan.
Capital to pay.
293,000, it's pretty close to 300,000. And you take that other, well, you divvy the money up as you want, but the 93 is gonna have to pay some direct expense. You're taking it out of
Okay.
insurance. Keep it clean, you pay
Whatever
it.
the insurance stuff is
Whatever the
allocated
insurance
for,
stuff
yeah.
is for,
Yes.
correct.
And the remainder, the remainder of this $200,000 loan, you split up between engineering,
Engineering,
and.
Blue Flag,
and cleanup.
Pipeworks,
Right. pipe.
everybody.
Yep.
I mean, my deal is, I know right now, St. John Parish, I think it is, their last pickup's gonna be Friday, they still picking up trash. So we go through all of this, if we don't pay these guys, we'll be a year later picking up trash, because they're not coming. I mean, I know they had way more damage than us, and I understand.
Todd, let me ask, so you said the 42 video poker deposit is not in here yet,
That
right?
is not in here.
Would you be comfortable anticipating another 40 next deposit for next month?
Could be. It's been
That's the trap.
mid-30s to mid-40s the last 4 to 6
So
months.
35? So
I mean, it's been in that ballpark.
can we say
certainly.
that there's another $75,000 that can be used before the end of the year?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like to keep a cushion there, guys. I mean, something.
Right. They need a little cushion.
I'm just,
So 40,000 feet. If we approve in total payments of $93,000, $293,000 for FEMA-related expenses, and we take 93 out of insurance, and 200 is a loan from the capital fund, however that you account for that. that's
Yep,
gonna be it.
yep,
I guess you'll account for it just like the loan from the
just
sewer.
like, yep,
So that gets $293,000 worth of bills paid. And then we do you gotta do the full amount of the Veolia buyout.
you're over budget. You only have 580 available.
Now, you will by the end of the year, if you start getting in maybe this.
I
week,
mean,
so
I-
kinda- kinda
You
close.
I
still
hate
only
to do
have
that
580
because
available.
something,
If you ask
if
them
we
in
get a-
December, like if you got
I did.
the only-
I added.
Oh, you are, that's including those figures?
Oh, no, this is including the
No,
video.
Right, right, but you're saying Veolia needs a check by
Tomorrow.
into that phone.
we're cutting it awfully close here, guys.
Yeah.
Running this city with zero in reserves almost.
Well, unless you just back out the balance that you owe to the vendors, if Veolia is that, I mean, look, they're both important, you gotta decide which one, I mean, I don't know if anyone's more important than the other, but That's your other alternative. It seems like, so let me ask you this, some of these invoices like are 17 and 18, is any of that negotiable with Veolia?
I did, I got
Okay,
negotiated
all right.
50 cents on the dollar.
All right, not bad.
So there's another possibility. We try to borrow another $400,000 or $500,000. That might take a while, but when it happens, I don't know that you need council approval to spend that money, because you're gonna just be paying bills. I mean, you could pay FEMA vendors. We paid FEMA vendors to the tune of $900,000 without an ordinance. Well, you paid them for much more than that, but we used general fund money in addition to the $2 million loan. So while we can't draw on that money tonight, if we can make another loan, I hate to make another loan, but I also hate to take our cash balances down as far as we take.
Well,
It's
I
scary.
don't think anybody disagrees with that, then
Yeah.
maybe we would just pay some of it. I think you can get some of these people paid, and Veolia.
But if you pay Viola and you pull 200,000 out.
Well, no, so I'm saying you would have to adjust that, so then the question comes, well, who gets preference first?
So now we talk, 93 can come out of insurance, we're reasonably confident.
Yeah, I mean, I'll run them again, see if I can find some more money. How about that?
Move
Would
for a
somebody
10-minute
give
recess.
Councilman Wheeler a sharper pencil.
I'm trying.
Move for a 10-minute recess.
Second.
All right, motion on the floor by Councilman Asbill for 10-minute recess, second by Councilman Chatterley, all in favor?
Yeah.
We have recess. Okay, meeting's called back to order at 6:59.
Mr. Mayor, move to defer proposed ordinance 2022 dash, whatever the first one is, 27 to after proposed ordinance 2022 dash 30.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Asbill. We'll open the public hearing. No one coming forth. We'll now close public hearing to move proposed ordinance 2022-27 to be read after 2022-8. Second by Councilman Buddy. All in favor?
Yay.
We're taking up 30 now and 27 next, yeah. Oh,
Whatever. So if you nay and a yay.
I'm a nay.
All right, 4 yeas, 1 nay, motion passes. All right, Madam Clerk, proposed ordinance number 2022-30. I'm sorry.
We have to open it up for public hearing.
Was
I
she
gotta
gonna
read
just
it. Proposed
sorry.
ordinance number 2022-30. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Chatelain and seconded by Councilman
I'll take it.
Wheeler. An ordinance authorizing the city of Harahan to borrow $328,128.93 from capital to pay Veolia and terminate the contract. That was terrible.
All right, well, now open for public hearing. Anyone who would come speak? No one coming forth. We'll now close public hearing. We'll go into council discussion. Councilman Chatelain? Your baby.
I think we need to pay our vendors first. I disagree with moving this ordinance to this spot here. If we're gonna make a purchase like this, a payoff, we need to go ahead and borrow the money to do it. So I'll listen to what everybody else got to say.
like I said, discussion in the previous ordinance. I know anecdotally, we're talking about saving 40 to 30 grand a month. I would like to see the actual financial analysis on that. We don't have the cash up front, but what we might have is the current management fees, and if that's what we gotta pay to, if we need to terminate the contract and pay them through March, I guess to stay above water, and that's what we need to do, I believe, but, and I know that's not what we wanna do, because they're a terrible contractor. But, you know, if that's what we gotta do to stay above water, we might have to keep them around till March. And they may even be a worse contractor, now that I call them a terrible contractor, but.
So, do
Calling it
we
black.
feel,
Calling
do
it-
we feel this council's prepared to go make another loan to pay off our other vendors until the FEMA money comes in? If we take this money out of capital and pay them?
I haven't seen, I'm not prepared based on I just haven't seen the justification backup for the ordinance.
Well, I also haven't seen the backup, but I do have faith in the administration. And I'm assuming we'll save, just based upon the conversations I've had, but not seeing the numbers, and I'm a piece of paper four corners of the document guy. But based upon the conversations I've had, I believe we are expected to save about $20,000 a month net if we terminate Veolia's contract. So by dragging it out to March, it'll cost the city net about $100,000. And we're sitting here talking about tens of thousands of dollars. It's a lot of money to lose. Plus, the personnel that the administration has lined up may not hang around on an unpaid basis until March. I haven't been, again, party to the conversations, but that's asking a whole lot for people to hang around for 5 months while we kick the can down the road.
Yeah. and
So I'm,
I don't disbelieve the administration, just this council has rarely acted on faith before, and I prefer not to start that now. I'd move to reopen the public hearing, so Mr. Ricks can come up. I think he had something to say, he wanted to say.
I'm sorry, what was the move, sir?
To reopen the public hearing.
I motion the floor by
Well,
Councilman Asbill, second by
okay.
Councilman Wheeler, public hearings. All in favor?
Yay.
Yeah.
Five years in, your public hearing is now open. It's public hearing anyway.
Mike Ricks, 33 Colonial Club. But if Viola's doing such a terrible job and their contractual agreement is to do a good job, why can't you just terminate the contract?
It's a lawsuit. Now we bring in probably $100,000 in legal fees
More than that.
that you're gonna add to it.
More than
The
that.
same thing Kenner's going through right now. They've tried to turn, even though Viola's in neglect with Kenner, now in a massive lawsuit trying to get out of contract. We've actually negotiated a deal to get out of contract with them, with not engaging in a lawsuit, and even got them to come down on previous money owed from that I inherited, and got them to come down 50 cents on the dollar on that as well. So we actually got them to come down off 100,000 off what we owed them, and got them to build a way to negotiate out of a contract, sans of a lawsuit.
Gotcha.
So it's a bigger savings.
Move to close public hearing.
Anybody else? Tim, you want to close the public hearing?
I'm in the meeting, I gotta call you back.
Okay, no one coming forth now, public hearing is now closed. We'll go back to council discussion.
Again, I think it just goes back to how
I
do
mean,
you prioritize
what's he watching
who
in
gets paid.
Right.
Go tell Paul.
Yeah, it's a lot of money to you right now. I mean, y'all are gonna be the ones battling this, the three y'all up here gonna be battling this next year.
I mean, I could tell you right now, just to give you some,
I mean, it does
Some backstory.
open up some breathing room a little bit, Mr. Buddy, of some savings by paying it off.
Well, why
So what-
would we go about getting them like
But what we-
people talk about?
But what we're talking about doing, at least we're not addressing it specifically now, we're talking about not paying Veolia, but paying vendors that have been substantially paid, 70 cents on the dollar in the overall. As opposed to negotiating out of a deal that may perish, or walking away from $100,000 in potential net savings.
Savings, yeah.
And again, I don't know what happens to these, to the plan. If the mayor's got moving parts lined up to happen, and settling with Veolia is a part of that. He's gotta have personnel to step up immediately and run the plant. There are no city employees currently employed that can do that.
So we have a class 4, which is running a plant now, which has every intention on staying with us. But I'm in total agreement with you, Tom. I doubt that he stays around very long. They're underpaying him. He has offers that, he likes, Harahan's his plan. He takes it personal. It's his deal. He doesn't wanna go work in New Orleans. But if it comes down to continuing to torture him working for some way he don't wanna work, he's leaving.
Do we have an
Kenner will
agreement
grab-
with Veolia that we can keep that employee, and that we can't not hire that employee?
There's no agreement saying yes or no.
There's no prohibition
There's no
for the
prohibition
city to
against-
hire their employees
No, sir. Kenner did it as well.
within certain number of days?
Scott, is that right?
No, sir. Kenner did it as well. Kenner also, I mean, Kenner's under the lawsuit with him, it has nothing to do with the employees, but.
I know, but I'm sorry to cut you off. I would just imagine that most contractors would put in their contract that you can't hire their employees for a certain period.
Yeah, it's nowhere I've seen, and I've been going through the contract quite a few times.
Do we have a
just in
copy of it
negotiations.
available?
I do.
Can
Do
we
we-
get it? I can look at it in 5 minutes and tell you if it's in.
Do we have proposed settlement agreement as well?
You wanna grab it? Yeah.
Like I said, with all this money coming out, I don't wanna put y'all, we all have nothing to do, you know.
Right.
I'm only gonna be around till the end of the year. Y'all gonna have to deal with this next year. hoping more money comes in, hoping that y'all replenish everything, hoping that FEMA money shows up.
Guys, I wanna pay, I
so-
wanna pay Viola, I wanna get out of the
Right,
contract.
Right,
I need to pay the vendors.
right. So why are we opposed to trying to get another loan?
Well, I mean, look, I don't say a loan. Why can't we, why are we so opposed to pulling money from ARPA to pay them? I mean, I know Todd's opposed to it.
I'm not tying this up in a
but-
federal lawsuit.
But let me tell you,
Federal government
the
over-
ARPA guidance is this big. I guarantee you.
Pull from the insurance proceeds as opposed to ARPA.
Right.
I mean, if we wanna borrow internally, pull from insurance.
I'm not even saying borrow.
There's a million.
I mean, I can wrap infrastructure all around a sewer plant all day long. If we wanna use infrastructure as a defining point for ARPA.
We can also borrow.
Todd, in
Let me
the
ask this.
proposed
can the-
2023 budget, which we will be taking up shortly, there's a budgeted amount for, I'm assuming, city employees and contract employees and employees to run the plant? Or did you use the,
We just used, at this point, we just used the current monthly rate.
okay, so that current monthly revenue is, the budget then includes payments to Veolia, plus the something for capital expenditures and repairs. And it may be fair to say that we could use ARPA money to pay those repairs and capital funds. I mean, if ARPA can
Could
be used
be.
for anything, that
Could be.
seems like it may be. So that is probably $200,000 or $300,000 that we could use to free up money to repay a loan or to pay vendors.
Let me ask, Mr. Buddy, is what you're saying, or are you basically asking, and I'm gonna just ask the question, can we free up $328,000 in current capital projects next year at the sewer plant to pay through ARPA to free up this money in next year's
Say
budget?
that again, please?
Can we free up $328,000 in capital projects to pay those capital projects out of ARPA and pay this
Absolutely,
some,
So not out of
I
capital.
would agree,
Absolutely.
I would agree to that.
absolutely.
But the problem is, the mayor has got to sell
you don't have the cash, right?
You don't have the cash. I'm just saying that it's a replenishment mechanism that we could, when we get the numbers for the new plan, there's money that we've currently budgeted for the next 2 months of this year, has money in there for repairs. And then next year, that money could, if we can't use ARPA to pay those expenses, then we're gonna have a hard time using ARPA money for anything. And I appreciate that we don't wanna get sideways.
Any
with the federal budget.
infrastructure maintenance type thing at the plant, as far as I'm concerned, is gonna be able to go through ARPA.
Yeah,
I agree.
that's-
As
I
long
think
as
it's gotta
it's
be
general
current.
maintenance.
I think it's gotta be
Correct.
current.
Any
Now that the
major-
minorities passed.
It can't
No,
go to,
can't use
No,
it for
but his
past.
point is,
All right, let me.
Point is you gonna
so
free up
if
that
you-
money out the
yeah,
budget.
I love your current word, because we actually got the ARPA, first initial ARPA check over a year ago.
Right, so why
Almost
don't we?
all of the
Well,
money,
I understand, I'm saying current since ARPA. Now, you can't pay
can't
2017,
17 and
2018.
no, you could pay those, then take that and pay it out of the,
Well,
take that
well,
part
what if we,
and pay it
what
out of
if
capital.
we have the
Right.
ARPA
Okay.
repay the sewer fund for
And it's
the
gotta-
last year, those monies that Veolia has billed the city, and the city has paid for the sewer fund, gone back a year.
To throw another wrench
So
in
we're
everything. I
paying
also think
for
we're,
post-ARPA fund repairs and maintenance, that's gotta be $200,000 or $300,000.
yeah. You also have to think about, Mr. Stansberry, are we substantially changing ordinances to where they weren't introduced properly and passed?
In the ARPA fund ordinance, no.
Right. So I'm not sure we could spend ARPA tonight if it's
I don't
not,
think we can
if
spend
it wasn't
ARPA tonight.
advertised as spending ARPA.
So, I agree.
Yeah.
We don't wanna get sideways of that also.
Right.
But we've got an ordinance here, it's just, I'm gonna go through a possibility. We do the Veolia loan from capital.
Okay.
We look,
That brings you down to about 170.
170. Then we do another 100,000 on ordinance we're gonna discuss separately, we amend it down to a $100,000 loan. So the vendors now get a $100,000 loan proceeds from capital, plus 93, they're gonna be paid direct out of the insurance fund. And then the council and the mayor look to a loan for the full 600,000 to replenish the capital fund for its 100, pay the vendors the rest. It would be less than 600,000.
Yeah.
93 would come out of insurance.
And then the 100.
That's an option. The second option is, we go back, and this, we get an accounting analysis on the monies that we paid since the ARPA funds were received, and we look at reimbursing the city/sewer fund for that amount of money out of ARPA. So, and a loan.
I think we'd have to get that approved through an external auditor.
That answer we won't have tonight.
No, we're not gonna have it tonight. It's something that we can do, because we're taking the capital fund down to a pretty small amount. But we can look at a couple of different sources to
To
replenish.
replenish it, right?
For the full 328,
Which could be both.
and the 328, and potentially we'll get enough money that we.
It won't be the full 328, because some of that's prior to ARPA.
Yes, but we're gonna, the 328 is not what we're gonna get reimbursed for.
Right.
We're gonna get reimbursed for the money we've already spent for the last year that were capital and expense natures on the plan.
Right, but I thought you said reimbursing capital the full 328.
Yeah, well,
It
we
would be
would
a little bit
reimburse it
less.
for the amount of the loan,
Correct.
not for a particular invoice. Now, that's assume that we can get comfortable with having ARPA fund account reimburse the city for those expenses that we think will qualify, that we've already expended for last year, but it's gotta be $200,000 or $300,000. Because we pay Veolia a management fee, that might be hard to cover, but we also pay Veolia for reimbursed expenses. And it's those reimbursed
We
expenses.
approved the ordinance to give to, put the 326,000 to work to lift station 8.
There you go.
Where did we pull that from?
ARPA,
We did pull it from ARPA.
that's gonna come from ARPA. I think that's for second reading.
I was about to say. Yeah, that's getting ready to happen, but it's from ARPA.
So,
That's all.
but we have two possibilities of reimbursing the capital fund. One would be a loan, because it's a lot cheaper to borrow $300,000 than to forego potentially $100,000 in net savings.
I agree. I agree with paying this, borrowing the money, and paying this. Because basically, if you don't pay this, and you're gonna terminate them in March, you're giving away $150,000.
So, Councilman Eric,
No, it's just giving
if we could
giving them
do 93 out of insurance and $100,000 loan, it's $193,000 quick payment, could happen in days toward vendor payments, with a look to doing the rest, subject to us being able to borrow money or reimburse the city for ARPA funds already spent.
I agree with that. We need to go
And so
back,
then we do the remaining.
we need to go back to ordinance
we do the
27
remaining
and do
400,000.
that first.
Do what? I'm sorry?
We need to go back to ordinance 27 and do that first.
You can just approve it contingent on.
So we go back to 27, and we reduce the loan amount to 100,000,
Yep, because you're gonna pay 97 out of,
93 and 100.
Yep.
I'm comfortable with that. We just need,
Was that one more time?
so,
Going
Back
back
to
to
paying
the
the
other one,
vendors.
giving 100 and giving 93 from the insurance, what is that?
yeah.
what does the employee contract say right there you were looking through? Can we hire that employee or not?
Oh, I haven't looked at it yet.
I
We need some
looked
time.
through what I had, and I don't see.
It doesn't say one way or other.
Agreement for operate, amendment to the agreement. You've looked at them both just now? I mean, it's gonna jump out. It's-
I didn't see it before, I didn't see it.
Yeah. Normally, you can't hire
That's
them
not
away
the-
while you're
that's
under
Veolia's
contract.
Right, employee might have an employee contract, right? Yeah,
Yeah, they might have a non-compete in their employee contract.
right.
If he's got an, yeah. and
I
it-
doubt it. When they
Right.
hired that guy, he had nothing.
Yeah,
He didn't have any of the certifications, anything.
but, I mean, they provide.
I know what you're saying.
I mean, you got people that work at a gym as a trainer that have non-competes.
Right.
Yeah, it's getting to be common. But the employee's got to tell you if he's got not, he's at risk for that, not the ship.
Well, I mean, mean, we're at risk too, because then we don't have.
We don't have nobody to complain.
We got a class 4 backup.
We do have a backup.
But you don't wanna hire him again,
Right. We're fairly, I'm confident and he would be aware of, I mean, we've been talking for months now, he would have been aware of a non-compete. We've talked about non-compete. And when Kenner left Veolia, Kenner took their employees and all my employees with him. That's how we got new employees. And that's not named in the lawsuit. The lawsuit is just them wanting to get out of the contract for neglect.
I don't know where you can look at the 93, I had 73.
Yeah, he said 93.
That's actually edited to, because I missed the playground invoice, that's,
The 19,
So it's
the
over 100.
19.6.
yeah, so
Okay.
it's
Yeah, I didn't have
107
that,
or
That's why. So that's why I was at 73, you're
Or
at
he's-
93.
He's at 107 now,
So you're saying that
109,
109.
insurance
109,
monies would be 109?
109.
Okay. Back on ordinance 2022-30, the other concern I had was we don't actually have a settlement agreement in writing with Veolia yet.
Yes,
So,
we do.
do we have a copy of it?
Do you have the settlement agreement with them? No, not a contract. Did they send over a settlement agreement? Brian did. You want me to go?
Anyway,
That's how we got
if you
the
do, that's great. What I would add is that I would add a new section 2, and I'm going to propose this amendment. But basically, the ordinance is contingent upon Veolia providing a full release of all claims against the city.
And something to consider, when you're doing a release, Veolia's probably got a full
Okay.
release by the city against them, and you shouldn't give up any warranty rights you may have. This is a settlement agreement on monies owed and a contract term. It's not a full release if they screwed something up, some reporting with the federal government or something. We want to be
You
able to go
comfortable
back
with
against them.
Okay.
So hopefully that's in there. Who helped you with the contract? Who negotiated the contract terms?
The Veolia contract? Oh, no.
The
We did. Me
termination.
me and Brian.
I would say
The guy named
current.
Brian Bruce.
Okay.
I mean, I like
And
that.
Scott,
We
you
can
would go
definitely
on
get
that.
that added in there.
Scott, have you,
Yeah, sign it.
well, you haven't looked at it yet, though? So, I mean,
Sent it out. He's just looking to get the money.
yeah. So I don't see anything in here, and it's a quick scan. This is the Veolia agreement and amendments. I don't see anything in here that talks about employment contracts.
Okay.
So Jason, if you want to scan through it real quick and put a third set of eyes on it.
No, I'll take yours and city attorney's word for it. He's got insurance for that.
You want to take this back? All right, so,
So I proposed to amend, I moved to amend proposed ordinance 2022-30 to add new section 2,
wait,
which,
we need to go back to it. We're not on this.
we're on it.
He's adding it, so he could add it
Oh, we're
now.
on it now, okay.
Yeah, we're on it
I'm
now.
just not voting on it until after.
To add new section 2 to read, this ordinance is contingent upon Veolia providing a full release of all current and future claims against city. And then renumber section 3.
Do you think that covers us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just make sure that it's in the settlement agreement as well.
Do you want, Councilman, would you be as good with a term to that effect? Because it may already say a full and final settlement of all claims, any kind or any nature. It may be there, but with different words,
Yeah, whatever is substantially similar,
or substantially similar wording.
yeah.
So how would you propose, what would it be again?
This ordinance is contingent upon Veolia providing a full release of all current and future claims against city.
Or words substantially to that effect?
Yeah, that's
You want
fine.
to add that to the amendment?
Or words substantially to that effect.
Yeah, because it may be in there.
Move to open public hearing on the amendment.
Okay, you want to speak on amendment? Public hearing is now open. No one coming forth. Public hearing is now closed.
I move the proposed amendment.
We moved, Councilman Asbill moves to add a section 2 amended as read prior into record, second by Councilman Wheeler. All in favor?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yay.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
And you know,
2022-30 is
under that
amended.
Section at the said this on a release, but it doesn't say to actually terminate the contract.
Well, it says to pay Veolia and terminate the contract.
In the heading.
Oh, in the ordinance, I guess.
I just added so.
Mhm.
And- Okay. Section,
the
I'm gonna
ordinance
add
is-
section one, or I'm gonna amend section 1 to read, an ordinance to transfer money from the capital fund to the general operating fund to pay Veolia for the purposes of terminating the contract.
Okay, we're now open for public hearing. We no one come to speak forth. We're now closed public hearing. We have a second by Councilman Wheeler. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
5 yeas, 0 nays. Second amendment is applied.
Move to read as amended.
Do you want to move to approve as amended?
Nope.
I don't wanna do that.
Okay, so you want to make a motion to go back to 2020-27?
I want to make a motion to go back to 2022-27.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Chatelain, second by Councilman Buddy, to go back to 2022-22. All in favor?
Yay. Nay.
4 yeas, 1 nay. All right, Councilman Wheeler, the floor is yours. Councilman Chatelain, the floor is yours, I'm sorry.
I'd like to amend ordinance 2022-27 to take $636,627.67, and we're gonna change that to $209,000.
Okay, we have a motion on the
No,
floor.
no, we don't need to borrow that. It only needs to be 100 here.
100,000.
You're gonna take 109,000, we can pay it out of the insurance.
I think he's
fund.
just talking about the whereas section right now. It doesn't say borrow.
Well, the whereas section doesn't change. That's an accurate number.
Oh,
The whereas is actual.
And the
So-
ordinance authorizes borrowing, so we're only gonna borrow 100,000.
So section 1,
So section 1.
section 1 should read, an ordinance to transfer, and actually it's supposed to be a loan, right?
Well, right now, he's looking for at the top, which is the 636, changing that
But
to
636
209.
You can't,
what's
that's
owed.
what's owed. That's what's owed. That says the city has outstanding FEMA bills due in the amount of
I got what
$636.
you're saying, okay,
That doesn't have anything to do with the amount of the loan.
I get it.
So
Section 1 should show the breakdown.
in ordinance to loan, well, let me jot this in, hold on. $100,000 from the capital fund to the general operating fund to pay
200.
100,000, no, 100. With this ordinance, you're gonna just do 100.
This is just capital, right?
So,
I think you gotta put them both.
You still gotta
Yes.
add it because we're transferring the money from
yeah,
capital.
that's another, but that's section
Section 1.
1.1 or 1.2 or something like that.
So section,
So the first thing we do is change section 1 to read, an ordinance to loan $100,000 from the capital fund to the general operating fund to pay $100,000 of FEMA bills. And then add another sentence, said $100,000 to be repaid to the capital fund upon receipt of the first $100,000 from FEMA. Right? So, I will, just wanted to throw it out there before I. So the first sentence is gonna read, an ordinance to loan $100,000 from the capital fund to the general operating fund to pay $100,000 of FEMA bills. The second sentence would read, said $100,000 loan to be repaid to the capital fund upon the receipt of $100,000 or the next $100,000 from FEMA for Hurricane Ida. I'll reread it again. Second sentence. Said $100,000 loan to be repaid to the capital fund upon the receipt of the next $100,000 FEMA funds for Hurricane Ida. So now we've amended, we've clarified that the loan's 100,000, and we're saying that we're gonna get repaid. The capital fund's gonna get repaid
Upon receipt from FEMA.
but when we get the money from FEMA.
Y'all agree to that? Sounds fair?
Now, you just gotta determine who gets the 100,000.
Can we split
What
it?
was, what was that, I'm sorry?
So now you just have to determine who gets the 100,000.
Well,
How it's split.
I think, we don't need to do that.
No, no, I'm
Artie.
just saying, that, look,
That's on
Now,
administration.
we need to add another section to discuss the moving of, or the use of, 109,000 of capital funds.
I don't think it has to be done in an ordinance though, huh?
We passed the ordinance saying all
Oh,
insurance
that's right,
funds
we
need to
did,
be
yes,
approved by
yes.
council. So we didn't want to go buy a new fire truck, police cars, or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, on that 109, do we have this, do we have to list
I
the
don't-
invoices or no? Just the council authorizes?
I'm trying to get the council each one.
Of course you are.
We could, look,
I'm getting forward, right?
Kerry,
Yes, sir.
we could put something in there
I already
to
got
pay
you, bro.
$109,000 of the capital insurance funds money as determined by the finance director of towards
I
outstanding
think we
FEMA.
could just say that we authorize 109,000 being spent out of insurance proceeds for outstanding FEMA bills.
Okay,
I mean,
so I don't have a preference. You think it's section 1.1, Jason?
yeah, we're gonna, furthermore,
Just continue on with the furthermore?
However you want to do
It matters not to me.
it. Okay.
In ordinance,
authorizing
authorizing the payment
These are the minor invoices that I told about.
of $109,000
from insurance.
from the capital fund,
That's all Ida debris.
Insurance.
fund, yeah, I'm gonna use the
I know, I'm just trying to get creative on something.
insurance proceeds. Is this insurance proceeds, does it have any line item reference?
Three different lines. It's just the
Insurance proceeds.
Right, it's gonna come from all different ones.
Okay,
Look at each invoice and what departments.
from the capital fund, from insurance,
Proceeds.
Hurricane Ida insurance proceeds. To FEMA vendors, comma, from the capital fund, and from the insurance Hurricane Ida insurance fund, from the hurricane insurance. In the capital fund. All right, how's this sound? Councilman,
I'm listening.
we lose one?
Well, he just.
Yeah, he went to the restroom.
He had to use the restroom.
Okay, let's
wanna
get it
wait?
passed before we
Get it passed before it
Yeah,
gets
hurry
passed.
I'll give him time. Jason, you ready? So I propose an amendment to ordinance 2022-27 to be added after the previous amendment to read, furthermore, comma, an ordinance authorizing the payment of $109,000 to FEMA vendors from the insurance, Hurricane Ida insurance proceeds in the capital fund. Any comments?
Second.
So this is both amendments.
Second
This-
vote,
yeah.
second the whole amendment.
Yep, the whole amendment.
Mr. Buddy, can
Yes,
we
sir.
use the exact amount? 109,767? That way.
I like
there's no-
that.
That way, there's no
I like that.
disagreement.
Why don't we just roll it up?
109,000.
You got extra $237
109 what?
to spend.
109?
767 and 33 cents.
He'd spend it too.
And at 33 cents?
That's your job.
All right. So
We helping you right now.
there's a motion on the floor. You want me to read it again, Carrie? To add a sentence to section 1 after the previous amendment. The sentence to read, furthermore, an ordinance authorizing the payment of $109,767.33 to FEMA vendors from the insurance, Hurricane Ida insurance proceeds in the capital fund, period. So we just, all right.
As-Bill seconded.
So the two amendments are up for vote.
As Bill seconded.
Do we have to open that up to?
Yes, we're now for public hearing. Anyone wants to discuss, please come forward. No one coming forward. Now close public hearing. We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Buddy
Move.
to read ordinance as a minute, second by Councilman Asbill. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
5 yeas, 0 nays, ordinance passes.
I move to propose ordinance 2022-27 as
That was
amended.
amendment passed,
Oh,
not
that was
the,
all, I'm sorry, all amendments passed, okay.
yeah.
I move as amended.
Now we got a motion on the floor by Councilman Asbill. We'll now open the public hearing. Anyone come forth, come forth. No one coming forth, we'll now close it. Second by Councilman Wheeler for proposed ordinance number 2022-27 as amended. All in favor?
Yay.
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 5 yeas, 0 nays, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
Back to 30 now?
Now back to
Yep, we're
third.
now back on proposed ordinance number 2022-30. All in favor?
Do I need to read it again? An ordinance authorizing the city of Harahan to borrow $328,128.93 from capital to pay Veolia and terminate the contract.
This has been amended once already,
Yes.
twice.
Okay, so we have proposed ordinance number 2022-30 on the floor as amended twice. Anyone want to come speak? No one coming to speak forth. We now close public hearing. We'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Yay.
5
Yay.
yeas, 0 nays. Thank you.
There you go. Should we hear?
We got some first readings.
Ordinances for introduction. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Wheeler. Proposed ordinance number 2022-32, an ordinance amending ordinance number 1925, the annual budget of revenues and expenditures for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2022 for the city of Harahan, Louisiana. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Wheeler. Proposed ordinance number 2022-33, an ordinance adopting the annual budget of revenue and expenditures for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023 for the city of Harahan, Louisiana. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Asbill. Proposed ordinance number 2022-34, an ordinance amending the Harahan Code of Ordinances, Section 14-164, work not requiring a building permit relative to building permit for sidewalks. Old business. Old business number 1, request from the LaFont family to block 1 block of Dozier on December 18th, 2022 from 6 to 8 p.m. for a Christmas concert.
Move to approve.
What was that, sir?
Move to approve.
Second.
Anyone
I have
coming to speak
a-
forth?
I'd like to ask a
We're now
question. Did we get the security detail arrangements discussed with the LaFonts?
They said that they would do what's necessary to close the street down if they had to,
Thank you.
and they would organize it with the police officers.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we asked Chief about it. Was it mentioned?
Yeah,
in the
we already
RFP,
did.
huh?
Yeah.
I thought we did.
Yeah, we already talked about
I
it.
just didn't know if we cleared that with the LaFonts.
Right.
Anybody
Yes.
want to come speak forward on old business? The LaFont party? No one coming forth. We'll now close public hearing. All in favor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
Address
Thank
the
you, Jody
council.
Anyone want to address the council, please state your name and address at the podium. No one coming forth. We'll now close address the council. Madam Clerk?
Secretary's report for October 2022, total revenues, $964,064. Pay bills, bills paid in October 2022, total expenditures, $802,331.04.
Move to adjourn.
Motion
by the floor
adjourned.
by Councilman Maslow to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Councilman Johnston and Councilman Wheeler. All in favor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay, we are adjourned.